Hello, IELTS enthusiast. Are you ready to revolutionize your IELTS Writing Task 1 performance? In this video, we've curated an extraordinary collection of synonyms to describe decline and reduction like never before. From gentle dips to jaw-dropping tumbles, these words will transform your writing, making it more dynamic, nuanced, and impressive. Dive in and let's make your writing stand out from the crowd. Decline. To decrease or diminish in amount, quality, or strength. The company's profits have steadily declined over the last 3 quarters. There was a sharp decline in the number of visitors during the winter season. Employment rates have declined significantly due to the economic downturn. Drop. To fall or decrease in level, amount, or value. The stock market experienced a sudden drop after the announcement. There was a noticeable drop in student enrollment this year. The temperature dropped significantly overnight. Reduce. To make something smaller or less in amount, degree, or size. The company has reduced its workforce to cut costs. Government policies have successfully reduced the pollution levels in the city. The budget for public services has been reduced by 20%. Diminish. To make or become less. The impact of the new policy has diminished over time. Sales figures have diminished gradually over the past year. Public interest in the project has diminished due to lack of progress. Fall. To decrease in amount, value, or strength. Unemployment rates have fallen to their lowest levels in years. There was a fall in the number of new business startups last year. The price of crude oil has fallen sharply this month. Lower. To reduce something in amount, degree, or size. The central bank decided to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy. Measures have been taken to lower crime rates in the city. The school has lowered tuition fees to attract more students. Plummet. To fall or drop straight down at high speed. Sales plummeted following the negative news coverage. The value of the cryptocurrency plummeted overnight. Visitor numbers plummeted due to the outbreak of the pandemic. Sink. To go down below the surface or to a lower level. The company's market share has sunk to an all-time low. Public confidence in the government has sunk significantly. The water level in the reservoir has sunk due to the prolonged drought. Subside. To become less intense, violent, or severe. The floodwaters began to subside after several days of heavy rain. Public protests have subsided following the government's announcement. The excitement surrounding the new product launch has subsided. Tumble. To fall suddenly and dramatically. The stock prices tumbled after the unexpected resignation of the CEO. The value of the local currency tumbled against the dollar. The number of tourists visiting the region tumbled due to political instability. Dip. To decrease slightly or temporarily. There was a slight dip in temperatures last night. The company's quarterly earnings saw a dip compared to the previous quarter. The number of new subscribers dipped briefly before rising again. Contract. To decrease in size, number, or range. The economy contracted by 2% last year. Manufacturing output has contracted due to reduced demand. The company's operations have contracted to focus on core areas. Slide. To decrease gradually in amount, value, or quality. Sales figures continued to slide despite the marketing efforts. The unemployment rate slid steadily over the past few months. There was a noticeable slide in the company's market share last year. Curtail. To reduce or limit something. The company decided to curtail its spending on non-essential projects. Public transportation services were curtailed due to budget constraints. Measures were taken to curtail the rise in crime rates. Recede. To move back or diminish in size or intensity. Floodwaters began to recede, revealing the extent of the damage. The threat of the epidemic has receded, bringing relief to the population. The excitement surrounding the event has receded over time. Shrink. To become smaller in size, amount, or value. The company's profits shrank due to increased competition. The size of the ice caps is shrinking rapidly due to climate change. Enrollment numbers at the university have shrunk over the past decade. Wane. To decrease in size, extent, or degree. Public interest in the initiative waned after the initial excitement. The influence of traditional media is waning in the age of digital technology. The popularity of the product has waned as newer models have been introduced. Lessen. To become or make something less. Efforts were made to lessen the impact of the financial crisis. The intensity of the storm began to lessen as it moved inland. The government's new policies aimed to lessen the burden on taxpayers. Decrease. To become smaller or fewer in number, amount, or intensity. There was a decrease in the number of visitors to the museum. The city's pollution levels have decreased significantly over the past year. The rate of inflation has decreased, stabilizing the economy. Collapse. To fall down or give way suddenly. The company's share prices collapsed following the scandal. The bridge collapsed under the weight of the heavy traffic. The negotiations collapsed after both parties failed to reach an agreement. Downturn. A decline in economic, business, or other activity. The economy experienced a severe downturn during the recession. There was a noticeable downturn in consumer spending last quarter. The construction industry has faced a downturn due to decreased investment. Dwindle. To become gradually less or smaller. The number of students enrolling in arts courses has dwindled over the years. Supplies of fresh water have dwindled due to the prolonged drought. Attendance at the weekly meetings has dwindled significantly. Trim. To reduce the amount or size of something. The company has trimmed its workforce to cut costs. Government spending on education has been trimmed to allocate more funds to healthcare. The project budget was trimmed to meet the financial constraints. Slash. To reduce something by a large amount. The company decided to slash prices to attract more customers. Government subsidies for the sector were slashed by 50%. The retailer slashed its advertising budget in response to declining sales. Cut back. To reduce the amount or size of something. The company had to cut back on its expenses to stay afloat. Public services were cut back due to budgetary constraints. Many households have cut back on their spending in response to the economic downturn. Sag. To sink or decline under pressure or weight. The market began to sag under the weight of new regulations. Consumer confidence has sagged due to uncertainty in the economy. Housing prices have started to sag in many urban areas. Weaken. To make or become less strong or powerful. The sudden drop in demand has weakened the company's financial position. The government's failure to act has weakened public confidence. The hurricane's force weakened as it moved inland. Ebb. To gradually decrease or decline. The popularity of the social media platform has begun to ebb. After the initial surge, the sales figures started to ebb. The tide began to ebb, revealing the sandy shore. Mitigate. To make something less severe, serious, or painful. New regulations have been introduced to mitigate the environmental impact of industrial activities. The government implemented measures to mitigate the effects of the recession. Efforts to mitigate the spread of the disease have been successful. Subdue. To bring under control or reduce the intensity. The firefighters managed to subdue the flames after several hours. Efforts were made to subdue the growing unrest among the workers. The doctor prescribed medication to subdue the patient's symptoms. Abate. To become less intense or widespread. The storm finally began to abate, allowing the rescue operations to commence. The company's losses have started to abate after restructuring efforts. Public interest in the scandal has abated over time. Fade. To gradually lose brightness, color, or strength. The bright colors of the fabric began to fade after repeated washing. The enthusiasm for the new project faded over time. The sound of the music faded as the night wore on. Lighten. To make or become less heavy, dark, or severe. The company decided to lighten its debt load by selling off non-core assets. The government took steps to lighten the tax burden on small businesses. The mood in the room lightened after the announcement of the good news. Ease. To make or become less severe or difficult. The central bank's decision to lower interest rates helped ease the financial crisis. Traffic congestion has eased following the introduction of new road measures. The pain in his leg began to ease after taking the medication. Moderate. To make or become less extreme, intense, or violent. The measures taken by the government helped to moderate the rapid inflation. Public debate on the issue has moderated in recent months. The weather moderated, allowing the outdoor event to proceed as planned. Thin out. To reduce in number, quantity, or thickness. The crowd began to thin out as the concert drew to a close. The density of the forest thinned out as we approached the clearing. Participation in the weekly meetings has thinned out due to lack of interest. Fade away. To disappear gradually. The excitement surrounding the product launch began to fade away. Her interest in the hobby started to fade away over time. The memories of that day have slowly faded away. Deflate. To reduce in size, importance, or confidence. The announcement of the financial losses deflated the company's stock prices. The team's morale deflated after the unexpected defeat. The hype surrounding the event deflated when the main speaker canceled. Deplete. To use up the supply or resources of. Overfishing has depleted the fish stocks in the ocean. The company's reserves have been depleted due to the prolonged economic crisis. The constant use of the air conditioning has depleted the power supply. Taper off. To gradually decrease in size, amount, or intensity. The growth rate of the economy began to taper off in the second quarter. The number of new cases started to taper off as the vaccination campaign progressed. The increase in sales figures tapered off towards the end of the year. Drain. To remove or draw off a liquid gradually, to deplete resources or energy. The constant use of air conditioning has drained the power supply. The prolonged conflict has drained the country's resources. Heavy investment in research and development has drained the company's capital. Crater. To collapse or fall dramatically. The stock prices cratered after the unexpected earnings report. Tourism numbers cratered due to the travel restrictions. The company's market value cratered following the scandal. Depreciate. To diminish in value over time. The local currency has depreciated against the dollar, affecting imports. Assets are expected to depreciate over the years due to wear and tear. The company's goodwill has depreciated after the negative publicity. Curb. To restrain or keep in check. The government implemented policies to curb inflation. Efforts have been made to curb emissions from industrial activities. The new regulations aim to curb the excessive use of plastic. Attenuate. To reduce the force, effect, or value of something. Vaccinations help to attenuate the spread of the disease. The impact of the economic downturn was attenuated by government stimulus. Noise-canceling headphones attenuate background sounds. Dampen. To make something less strong or intense. Rising costs have dampened consumer spending. The company's ambitious plans were dampened by regulatory hurdles. The enthusiasm for the project was dampened by the lack of funding. Alleviate. To make suffering, deficiency, or a problem less severe. The new measures are expected to alleviate traffic congestion in the city. Efforts to alleviate poverty have shown significant progress. The medication helped to alleviate the patient's pain. Retract. To withdraw or go back on an earlier statement or decision. The CEO retracted his statement after it was proven false. The company had to retract its initial earnings forecast due to unforeseen circumstances. The government retracted the controversial policy following public outcry. Recoil. To suddenly spring or flinch back in fear, horror, or disgust, to shrink back. Investors recoiled at the news of the company's financial mismanagement. The public recoiled from the sharp increase in fuel prices. The market recoiled after the announcement of new tariffs. Taper. To diminish or reduce in thickness toward one end. The company's growth rate began to taper in the second quarter. The number of new cases started to taper as the vaccination campaign progressed. The increase in sales figures tapered towards the end of the year. Descend. To move or fall downward. The unemployment rate descended gradually over the past few months. The temperature began to descend after sunset. The profits descended sharply after the market crash. Downsize. To reduce in size or number, typically in the context of a company or workforce. The company decided to downsize its operations to cut costs. Many firms are downsizing due to the economic downturn. The organization downsized its workforce to remain competitive. Shorten. To make or become shorter in length, duration, or extent. The meeting was shortened to accommodate the CEO's tight schedule. The road construction project was shortened by 2 weeks due to efficient planning. The company's fiscal year was shortened to align with new regulations. Thin. To make or become less dense, crowded, or numerous. The forest began to thin out as we approached the clearing. The crowd thinned as the concert came to an end. Participation in the event thinned due to lack of interest. Degrade. To reduce in quality, value, or strength. Environmental pollution has degraded the quality of water in the river. The performance of the machine degraded over time due to lack of maintenance. The company's reputation degraded following the scandal. Truncate. To shorten by cutting off a part, usually abruptly. The discussion was truncated due to time constraints. The article was truncated to fit the available space in the magazine. The project's timeline was truncated to meet the new deadline. Fall off. To decrease in quantity, quality, or intensity. The number of tourists visiting the island fell off during the rainy season. Sales figures fell off after the initial launch of the product. Attendance at the workshop fell off towards the end of the day. Minimize. To reduce to the smallest possible amount or degree. The company implemented measures to minimize costs. Efforts were made to minimize the environmental impact of the construction project. The risk of accidents was minimized by following strict safety protocols. Demote. To reduce to a lower rank or position. The employee was demoted due to poor performance. The team's relegation demoted them to a lower division. The company decided to demote the manager following the restructuring. Wither. To become dry and shriveled, to weaken or diminish. The company's market presence began to wither after the new competitor entered the market. Public interest in the campaign has withered over time. The crop yields withered due to the prolonged drought. Backslide. To relapse into a previous worse condition. The economic reforms showed promise initially, but the country began to backslide into recession. After months of progress, the patient's health began to backslide. The company's performance improved temporarily but then backslid to its previous state. Retreat. To withdraw or go back. The stock market retreated after the unexpected interest rate hike. Tourists began to retreat from the beach as the storm approached. The company's aggressive expansion plans were retreated after facing financial difficulties. Subtract. To take away, a number or amount, from another to calculate the difference. To find the net profit, subtract the total expenses from the total revenue. The company had to subtract the costs of the new project from its annual budget. Subtracting the losses from the gains, the overall growth rate was calculated. Ease off. To reduce in degree, speed, or intensity. The central bank decided to ease off the monetary restrictions. Traffic congestion began to ease off after the peak hours. The pressure on the supply chain eased off as demand stabilized. Check. To stop or slow down the progress of something. The government implemented measures to check the rising inflation. Efforts were made to check the spread of the disease. New policies were introduced to check the decline in manufacturing output. Restrain. To hold back from action, to limit or control. The company implemented policies to restrain excessive spending. Government regulations aimed to restrain emissions from factories. Efforts were made to restrain the rapid urban expansion. Downscale. To reduce in size, number, or scale, especially in a business or operation. The company decided to downscale its operations due to the economic downturn. Many businesses have downscaled their workforce to cut costs. The project was downscaled to fit the new budget constraints. Deteriorate. To become progressively worse. The quality of the public services has deteriorated over the years. Economic conditions have deteriorated, leading to increased unemployment. The infrastructure in the area has deteriorated due to lack of maintenance. Slim down. To reduce in size or amount, typically in a business context. The company decided to slim down its product line to focus on core offerings. The organization slimmed down its staff to improve efficiency. The budget for the next fiscal year has been slimmed down due to reduced funding. Pare down. To reduce something in size or amount by removing unnecessary elements. The company decided to pare down its product line to focus on core items. The budget was pared down to meet the new financial constraints. They had to pare down the project scope due to limited resources. Abbreviate. To shorten a word, phrase, or text. The report was abbreviated to fit within the word limit. Technical terms were abbreviated to make the document more reader-friendly. The lengthy description was abbreviated to a concise summary. De-escalate. To reduce the intensity of a conflict or potentially volatile situation. The government took measures to de-escalate the tension between the two countries. Efforts were made to de-escalate the situation before it turned violent. Negotiations were initiated to de-escalate the trade dispute. Wind down. To gradually reduce the activities or operations, especially before stopping completely. The company decided to wind down its overseas operations due to declining profits. The factory began to wind down production as it prepared for closure. The event wound down with a farewell speech from the organizer. Tail off. To diminish or decrease gradually. The number of visitors to the park tailed off during the winter months. Sales figures tailed off towards the end of the fiscal year. The interest in the new product tailed off after the initial excitement. Fluctuate downwards. To vary irregularly with a downward trend. The company's stock prices fluctuated downwards due to market uncertainties. The demand for the product fluctuated downwards throughout the year. The economic indicators fluctuated downwards amid global instability. Fritter away. To waste time, money, or resources on unimportant or trivial matters. The company frittered away its resources on non-essential projects, leading to financial difficulties. She frittered away her savings on unnecessary purchases. The opportunity was frittered away due to lack of focus and planning. Downshift. To reduce the level of activity or the amount of effort, often related to a simpler way of life. The company decided to downshift its operations to focus on sustainability. Many professionals are choosing to downshift their careers for a better work-life balance. The economic slowdown forced businesses to downshift their expansion plans. Compress. To reduce in size, volume, or duration by pressing together. The data was compressed to save storage space. The project's timeline was compressed to meet the new deadline. The speech was compressed into a brief summary due to time constraints. Relent. To become less severe, harsh, or strict, to give in. The government relented on its strict regulations after public outcry. After negotiations, the company relented and agreed to the workers' demands. The harsh weather conditions finally relented, allowing the event to proceed. Downgrade. To reduce to a lower rank, grade, or level of importance. The company's credit rating was downgraded due to poor financial performance. The storm was downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. The job title was downgraded to reflect the reduced responsibilities. Condense. To make something more compact or dense, to reduce in volume or size. The long report was condensed into a brief summary for the meeting. The lecture was condensed into a 30-minute presentation. The data was condensed to fit into a single chart. Dissipate. To scatter or spread out and eventually disappear. The morning fog dissipated as the sun rose. The crowd gradually dissipated after the event ended. The initial excitement about the new product dissipated over time. Erode. To gradually wear away or diminish something. Constant exposure to the elements has eroded the building's facade. The company's market share has eroded due to increased competition. The coastline has eroded significantly over the past decade. Retrench. To reduce costs or spending in response to economic difficulty. The company decided to retrench in order to survive the financial crisis. Many businesses have been forced to retrench due to declining sales. The government announced plans to retrench public spending. Shed. To discard or get rid of something. The company plans to shed non-core assets to focus on its main business. Trees shed their leaves in the autumn. The retailer decided to shed its underperforming stores. Whittle down. To reduce something gradually by cutting away at it. The list of candidates was whittled down to just 3 finalists. Expenses were whittled down to the bare minimum to save costs. The project scope was whittled down to focus on key objectives. Sap. To gradually weaken or deplete something. The prolonged conflict has sapped the country's resources. The intense workload has sapped the employees' energy and motivation. Constant stress can sap one's mental and physical health. Undergo attrition. To experience a gradual reduction in number or strength. The company's workforce has undergone attrition due to resignations and retirements. The armed forces have undergone significant attrition over the years. The university's student population has undergone attrition as enrollment numbers declined. Worsen. To make or become worse. The economic situation has worsened due to the ongoing trade war. The patient's condition worsened despite the treatment. The environmental pollution has worsened over the past decade. Shrivel. To become or make something dry and smaller, especially due to lack of moisture. The crops began to shrivel under the scorching sun. The company's market share shriveled as new competitors entered the market. The once thriving town has shriveled into a ghost town. Eradicate. To completely destroy or put an end to something. Efforts to eradicate poverty have shown significant progress. The disease was eradicated through a successful vaccination campaign. Measures were taken to eradicate corruption in the organization. Dilute. To make something less strong or less valuable, usually by adding something else to it. The introduction of new shares diluted the value of the existing ones. The strong coffee was diluted with milk. The company's brand was diluted after the merger with a larger corporation. Suppress. To stop or reduce the intensity of something. The government took steps to suppress the uprising. The new law aims to suppress illegal activities in the financial sector. Efforts were made to suppress the spread of the virus. Temper. To moderate or mitigate the effect of something. The new policies were designed to temper the impact of the economic recession. His enthusiasm was tempered by the realization of the challenges ahead. Efforts were made to temper the expectations of the shareholders. Cut down. To reduce in size, amount, or quantity. The company plans to cut down on unnecessary expenses to improve profitability. Efforts are being made to cut down carbon emissions. The production costs were cut down to make the product more competitive. Derail. To cause something to go off course, often unexpectedly. The sudden change in market conditions derailed the company's growth plans. The negotiations were derailed by last-minute disagreements. The project was derailed due to unforeseen technical difficulties. Cripple. To cause severe damage to something, making it weak or ineffective. The economic crisis crippled many small businesses. The severe weather crippled the transportation system. The cyber attack crippled the company's operations. Cap. To place a limit or restriction on something. The government decided to cap the price of essential goods to prevent inflation. The number of participants was capped at 100 due to space constraints. Regulations were introduced to cap the amount of pollutants industries can emit. Narrow. To reduce the width or extent of something. The gap between the rich and the poor has narrowed over the years. The search for the missing plane was narrowed to a specific area in the ocean. The company's focus has been narrowed to its core business areas. Debilitate. To make someone or something physically weak or to diminish the strength, vigor, or effectiveness. The economic recession has debilitated the manufacturing sector, leading to a significant drop in production and employment rates. The prolonged drought has debilitated the agricultural industry, resulting in reduced crop yields and increased food prices. The company's decision to cut research funding has debilitated its innovative capabilities, causing a decline in market competitiveness. Deaden. To make something less intense, strong, or active. The insulation was added to deaden the noise from the factory. The medicine helped to deaden the pain after the surgery. Efforts were made to deaden the impact of the economic downturn on small businesses. Dissolve. To cause something to mix with a liquid and become part of it, or to end or disappear. The company decided to dissolve its partnership due to irreconcilable differences. The sugar will dissolve quickly in hot water. The committee was dissolved following the completion of its mandate. De-emphasize. To reduce the importance or prominence of something. The new policy aims to de-emphasize traditional testing methods in favor of holistic assessments. The marketing strategy was adjusted to de-emphasize the product's weaknesses. The report de-emphasizes the negative aspects of the project to highlight its potential benefits. Descale. To remove the scale or buildup from a surface, especially in machines and appliances. The technician was called to decale the coffee machine. Regular maintenance is required to decale the boiler and ensure its efficiency. The process to decale the pipes is essential to prevent blockages. Detract. To take away a part, quality, or value of something. The numerous spelling errors detracted from the overall quality of the report. The constant interruptions detract from the enjoyment of the performance. The outdated decor detracts from the appeal of the hotel. Drain away. To gradually disappear or be used up. The company's resources began to drain away due to the prolonged legal battle. The enthusiasm for the new initiative drained away as challenges emerged. The water drained away quickly after the heavy rain.